Hi, this is Matt with Plating Pixels, home of cost-conscious comfort food. And today we're making maybe one of the ultimate comfort food desserts. Delicious homemade apple pie filling from scratch. It's rich, sweet, sugary. It's just perfect fall flavors all in one. You can use this in simple pie crust, which I'll share a recipe for that as well. It's great served over ice cream. You can mix it in oatmeal. It's pretty much endless how you can use this, or just take some spoonfuls. You want to use apples that are firm but have a little bit of sweetness. I personally love to combine apples. You can do about half Granny Smith, which are firmer, crisper, are gonna hold up the texture better, and then use a sweeter apple like Gala or Honeycrisp, and that'll soften up the filling a bit, add some sweetness, and just round out the flavors. The first step is you need to peel, core, and slice the apples. You can use an apple peeler. It's gonna take some time. The best way to do this is to use an actual apple core. I'll link to the one I like in the comments. You're gonna need about 2.5 pounds or 6 to 7 medium baking apples. Watch how simple this is. Spin, remove, you're left with the core and perfectly good apple. There's a little bit of leftover skin. I actually like to leave it there just for texture. It's gonna make your pie a little bit more rustic. Repeat this for the remaining apples. A note on the peels and cores. We don't need them for this recipe, but a great way to reduce waste in the kitchen and reuse items. You can compost this. You can cook it in water and basically create a base for jelly. These are peeled and cored. You want to cut them in roughly bite-sized pieces. When you cook them, they're not gonna really break down. They're gonna hold their shape. We're gonna add them to a large bowl. They've started to oxidize a bit, even just in that short amount of time of cutting. Next step is critical for the best flavor, best texture, best apple pie filling. So what we're gonna do is add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. The reason for using these 2 ingredients, one, the sugar, we're gonna mix it together. It's gonna draw out the moisture of the apples, create the sauce, which will then thicken. And the lemon juice is gonna just help preserve it a bit. Citric acid is gonna keep it from oxidizing. And also the lemon just helps balance the sweetness a little bit and enhances flavors. So we wanna mix this up. You wanna evenly coat as much of the apples as possible to make sure we get all the liquid drawn out and we don't get any spots that are gonna oxidize. Let these sit, I'd say at least 5 minutes while we continue to the next step. A good way to know if it's done, you'll start seeing a little bit of liquid in the bottom of the bowl. This is my favorite part of making the apple pie filling, is the cooking. The smell is gonna be incredible. Your entire kitchen, your whole home is gonna smell like fresh apple pie. It's gonna be amazing. The apples are still resting, doing their thing. Thanks to the lemon juice, they look just as good as when I cut them. So for the filling, you wanna start by adding a 1/4 cup or about a 1/2 stick of butter. It can be straight from the fridge. It's just gonna melt in the pan anyways. So we add that in there. You wanna cook over roughly medium heat, enough to sort of caramelize the sugars and brown the butter, but you don't wanna have to watch it all the time or risk burning. Next, we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Typically when baking, brown sugar is measured packed, so make sure you pack it down. It's gonna make this extra delicious and sweet. We're using brown sugar instead of granulated sugar. It's gonna add a little bit extra flavor from the molasses. It's gonna caramelize more. It's gonna add some richness and some color and just make your apple pie filling extra rich, extra beautiful. Add that in. And finally, you wanna add about a 1/4 cup of water. That's gonna help create an actual sauce. There is liquid that got drawn out of the apples, but it's not enough for the sauce. This is cooking nicely, it's bubbling a bit. You pretty much just wanna cook it until the butter melts and the sugar is dissolved. That'll be about 2 minutes. Keep stirring constantly just to prevent burning, sticking. We're also gonna add about a pinch of salt. If you use salted butter, you could skip this step. Salt is used in baking. It helps enhance flavors. We're also gonna add about a 1.5 teaspoons, 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla. I recommend using vanilla extract in pretty much any dessert, such as cakes, pies, cookies. It just adds that classic dessert comfort flavor that you want. So this is looking perfect. We're getting some nice bubbles. It's beautiful. And we're ready to add our prepared apple pieces. So they just go straight in. See, there's a little bit of liquid that came out of it, which is what you want. And then just stir to coat. The sauce is looking very thin and watery. That is totally fine. Once the apples cook down a bit, the pectin inside of them is gonna thicken a little bit. It's gonna create a little bit thicker sauce, more liquid. Right now it looks like there's not enough liquid to apple ratio, but trust me, this is exactly what you want. So now make sure everything's evenly coated. And finally, it wouldn't be an apple pie filling without cinnamon. So we're gonna add about a teaspoon and stir to coat that as well. Now our sauce is nice and brown and it's gonna look amazing once the apples cook down. Next step is to cover them. This will help them cook more evenly, break down the apples, and prevent the liquids from evaporating. When you're done, you wanna have plenty of liquid left over. We'll thicken it up with cornstarch later, and that's what gets you the rich, silky, amazing apple pie filling that you want. So we're gonna let this cook for, I'd say about 6-ish minutes. I can see them bubbling, and again, it just smells so dang good. I wish you could smell it right now. So let's take a look. The apples are gonna be a little bit firm, by the way, if we cook it at about 6 minutes, but that is totally fine. It adds a little bit of nice texture, bite, and more importantly, when you bake it in a pie, which could be up to about an hour depending on the method you use, they're gonna cook down more. So you don't want them completely soft because in a pie, they're gonna end up mushy. They've softened up a bit, they've shrunk a little bit, there's a lot of liquid. It's bubbling pretty good, so I'm gonna reduce the heat. And there's one more absolutely critical step, is we intentionally made a lot of liquid. Now we wanna thicken that up into a nice filling. To do that, we'll start with about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now it's critical to mix it in water ahead of time. This will basically make a slurry. So you want to mix it till it's completely dissolved and it'll look like thin milk. The reason we do cornstarch in water is if you add the powder directly to the filling, it's gonna clump up, it's gonna seize up. This is one of the most important steps of this recipe, is to make sure you mix the cornstarch in water. So the pan is about medium low. You want a light bubble. And for this step, it's pretty simple, but you want to follow along closely. Cornstarch thickens pretty quick if you let it sit. So with this, you want to stir constantly and slowly add it. Again, we're trying to avoid chunks, spots, clumpings, anything. Mix it really good so all the liquid has been incorporated. You want to let this come back to a light boil, basically a rolling boil. Keep watching. Right now I don't need to stir it, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. Once it starts to bubble, it takes about 1 minute for the cornstarch to thicken. So keep it bubbling, keep it at a simmer, stir constantly for about 1 minute and you should see a change. After that, if it's not thick enough, you can do the same, maybe another half to 1 tablespoon of cornstarch in water. It's starting to bubble, I'm gonna stir it again, and I can already see it's thickening up. It's nice and glossy, it's looking amazing. And also don't worry, if you added too much cornstarch, it's a simple fix too. Literally just put in just straight water, maybe another tablespoon or 2 at a time, and stir it together to get the consistency you like. As you can see, this is thickened up into a delicious, luxurious, silky, smooth apple pie filling. And a good way to test it is to grab some. Look how it's just sliding off there. It looks a little goopy. This is exactly the texture you want. We can also tell it's done because it's sticking to the spoon. You can rotate it pretty good. This looks and smells perfect. I can tell this is exactly what we want. It's gonna make an amazing apple pie. The best way to make sure it's done and ready and how you want it is you gotta taste it. That is incredible. It's rich, sweet, a little tart, sugary. It's just perfect fall flavors all in one. And the cinnamon, the smell, it just all comes together perfectly. A note on canning apple pie filling. I go into this on the blog. I have instructions on how to do it, but one of the most critical steps is it's recommended to not use cornstarch to thicken the sauce. This can affect how the heat transfers when you're boiling the water in the jars, and sometimes it won't completely get through the mixture and it might not completely pasteurize it. So there's a couple workarounds. There's a product called Cook Type Clear Gel that works basically the same as cornstarch. It's not as common. You could probably find it online. I'll link to it in the description below. But if you're just using it for pie right away, you're gonna put it in the fridge for a while, you're gonna make another pastry out of it. You can even freeze it the way it is for a couple months and it's perfectly fine. And there you have it. We made a super simple, delicious, homemade apple pie filling from scratch. If you like this recipe, be sure to like and subscribe below and follow Plating Pixels on social media. And also keep watching for a little surprise. I can tell this is perfect because it's pretty much sticking to this. That's a blooper. You might get that later.